It's time to play Modern Vampires. Okay, so let's get into it. Sorry to scare you like that. I know, Modern gets a little frightening sometimes. But hey, we're playing something sweet here, and that something sweet is Modern Vampires. So, Zendikar Rising gave us a few new tools to play around with in Vampires. And really, Vampires have gotten a piece or two almost every set recently, it seems like. So, we're going to test them out. Now, what do we get from Zendikar Rising? Well, first and foremost, we got Nighthawk Scavenger. Nighthawk Scavenger is a 3-mana 1 black creature vampire rogue, flying death touch lifelink. Nighthawk Scavenger's power is equal to 1 plus the number of card types among cards in your opponent's graveyard. So what we have here is kind of a semi-goif, a weird goif. I don't know. It's hard to compare it to goif because it only works on your opponent's graveyard, obviously, not your own. So you can't just like fill your graveyard with stuff like you can with Tarmogoyf. However, it can still get pretty big pretty quickly, and it has some things that Tarmogoyf doesn't have, which is flying, death touch, and lifelink. All really great abilities. We also have a lord that gives us first strike, so whenever our Nighthawk Scavenger is in combat, we can do fun tricks by giving it first strike, thereby defeating something in the air or on the ground or whatever we're blocking, without having to worry about losing our Nighthawk Scavenger. Downside, of course, is that its toughness does not get the buff, so it's only its power. So it could be 5 power, but only have 3 toughness. So it still dies to a lightning bolt. So that's why there's only 3 in here. I would love to fit the full 4. Maybe they're good enough. I really want them to be good. I love this card. I think it's super fun. But we're keeping it at 3. The other big vampire we get is a Null Priest of Oblivion. Now, Null Priest of Oblivion. It's just a 2-mana Menace lifelink 2/1 on the kind of the first half of the card. But then you also get a kicker. If you can pay the kicker cost, so a total of 6 mana, 4 colorless, 2 black. 2, whatever, you know what I mean. When it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, you get to return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's a pretty powerful effect. Now, we're not going to get to kick it too often. Obviously, 6 mana is a lot in a creature deck. We're only running 20 lands. However, if we're up against something that is pathing some of our creatures or against long grindy matchups, we can kind of use Null Priest to get back a lord like Stormcur Captain. Or we can get back Kalitas, Trader of Get, is a pretty nice one. Or Vampire Nocturnus, our other lord. So some pretty nice pieces we can get there. Otherwise, it's just kind of a value thing. Like, we might only get a Legion of Lieutenant, which is just, other vampires you control get +1/+1. Might just get a gifted Etherborn that we need back from the graveyard, whatever. It's not like a combo in our deck by any means. You're not like getting back Gristlebrand or something. You could with Null Priest. I know there's probably a cool deck you could do with Gristlebrand, Null Priest, to get things back into the graveyard. But we're just playing it fair. We're playing vampires because that's way more fun. So what else do we have? We have Knight of the Ebon Legion, not from Zendikar Rising, but is a great 1-drop vampire. You get to pump it in the late game to give it +3/+3, and then whenever a player loses 4 or more life, and that's any player. So, you could potentially get yourself there if you were, I don't know, cracking fetches and shocking yourself or whatever. Or if your opponent's doing, burn damage to you, whatever it happens to be. If a player lost 4 or more life this turn, put a 1/1 counter on Knight of the Ebon Legion. So it can get pretty big, pretty fast, especially if you start pumping it or if you get a couple lords out, it gets pretty easy to make it bigger. Our other 1-drop, only 2 of, is Stromkirk Noble. Stromkirk Noble can't be blocked by humans. Humans is a thing right now, so sometimes relevant. It's also just a nice 1-drop. There's quite a few different pieces you could run in this slot. I like Stromkirk Noble just because it can get bigger. by attacking, which is kind of what we want to do. So, you can also get the Pinger Vampire, where it deals, damage to your opponent whenever it attacks. That's certainly something reasonable to do, but I like Stormkirk Noble. It's fun. We're running Aether Vial because we're a creature deck. We have a ton of creatures. Why wouldn't we? 4 Bloodghast. Can't block. It's a Vampire Spirit. Everyone, I think, forgets sometimes that it's a Vampire Spirit. It's a weird card. Bloodcast has haste as long as the opponent has 10 or less, which hopefully is often because we are kind of an aggro vampire deck. We are trying to kill our opponents with creature damage. And then whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may return Bloodghast from your graveyard to your battlefield. Obviously, we're not trying to get it back all the time. It's just we have enough fetch lands that sometimes we can get it back for free. It's just a nice value engine there. We have 2 Cordial Vampires, which also works pretty well with Bloodghast if we want to sacrifice things or throw it in front of something. Whenever another creature dies, put a 1/1 counter on each vampire you control. This makes things get out of hand real quick, especially if your opponents aren't paying attention, because whenever any other creature dies. So if any other creature dies, you get to put a 1/1 counter on each vampire you control. So you can make your team pretty big. Gatekeeper of Malakir. Whenever Gatekeeper of Malakir enters the battlefield, another kick card. If it was kick, target player sacrifices a creature. Pretty handy for getting rid of creatures. Great against Boggles. It is a turn 3 play. You can play it as a 2/2, but generally you're trying to wait for a creature and make them sacrifice things. They do get to choose, so it's not like straight removal. It's pretty much the only removal running main deck, but it does get people sometimes. 2 Gifted Aetherbone. This is definitely a meta choice. There's so much prowess, so much burn going around. This can just kind of clog up the board. Plus, it has lifelink, so even if they mow it down with a huge creature, you're getting a little bit of life back. You get Death Touch. Plus with Aether Vial, you can kind of vial it in, surprise your opponent with it. It's pretty nice. 1 of Stormkirk Condemned. This is from Rivals of Ixalan and Vampire Horror. Doesn't get flipped by Thing in the Ice, so take that, guy. Discard a card. Vampires you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. Activate this ability only once each turn. What's nice about this is if we have, a handful of lands and we just need to get in that little bit of damage, this can kind of do it for us. Not to mention, again, works really well with Bloodghast, works well with Null Priest of Oblivion if we're just sacking or tossing things into the graveyard. Just a 1 of, because we're not entirely like a graveyard deck. We're not entirely a discard deck. It's just kind of nice to have another Lord effect every once in a while. Plus, you can only do it once per turn, so it's not like we can discard 6 cards and trample in there with our team. 4 of Legion Lieutenant, pretty simple. 2/2 gives other vampires you control +1/+1. Always useful. We are running 3 Sorin Imperious Bloodlord, Legendary Planeswalker from Core Set 2020. He is vampire-centric for sure. Target creature you control gets, this is a +1. Target creature you control gains Death Touch and Lifelink until end of turn if it's a vampire, which all of our creatures are vampires. Put a 1/1 counter on it. You may sacrifice another +1. You may sacrifice a vampire. Again, all of our creatures. When you do, Sorin Imperious Bloodlord deals 3 damage to any target, and you gain 3 life. Lightning Calyx on a stick, which is great. And again, if we're sacrificing our own Bloodghast and then sacrificing a land to get it back, not a big deal. Even some of our other 1-drops, or if we have an Old Priest in hand, whatever, we get to do all sorts of fun stuff with that. -3, you get to put a vampire creature from your hand onto the battlefield. Now, generally, we don't have any big vampires here. Our biggest vampires are Kalidas and Vampire Nocturnus. So we're not cheating anything out. We're not trying to win the game with this ability here, except for by doing it fairly. We have Stormkirk Captain, another Lord for vampires. Other vampire creatures you control get +1/+1 and have First Strike. First Strike is a huge ability to have on your creatures. It just means that sometimes you just get to win in combat, which is very important. We have Kalidas, Trader of Gets, great again because of the prowess stuff that's out there, but more because of all the graveyard shenanigans that are happening. If you can get this in there before the Uro comes down, or whatever, you can exile that card, instead of having it be put into the battlefield or into the graveyard, which is, another thing that's going to come up all the time because it is 4 mana, but you might get some people sometimes. Vampire Nocturnus, Magic 2013. Play with the top card of your library revealed. As long as the top card of your library is black, Vampire Nocturnus and other vampire creatures you control get +2/+1 and have flying. It's probably correct to cut other, spicy cards that I have on here to run a couple more Vampire Nocturnus. Well, we're running one non-black creature, I guess. Most of our cards are black, but it is just a 4-drop. It is a 3/3 unless you have that creature on top. So a Bolt gets it. So it's risky. It's really good when it's good, but sometimes it just does nothing. Plus we can have like lands. We have technically 26 cards in the deck that negates his ability. All the rest, so that's 34 hits off of Vampire Nocturnus, so it's pretty good. And then we have one Agadeem's Awakening. Mostly this is going to be a land in our for most of the time. However, every once in a while, again, if the game goes long, we can return from the graveyard to the battlefield any number of target creature cards that each have a different converted mana cost of X or less. So if we can, again, hit that magic 6, we can get back 3 different vampires from a graveyard potentially. So pretty good. And the cost of having it in your deck is pretty low. You do have to pay 3 life if you want to have it enter the battlefield untapped. But since we're only running 1, I'm not too worried about it. In the sideboard, we have Skyclave Apparition because we can cast it, and it's modern, so if you can cast Skyclave Apparition, why wouldn't you have it in your deck somewhere? We all know what it does. It's amazing. It just gets rid of those pesky permanents that can kind of ruin our day. We have Bloodchief's Thirst, also from Zendikar's Rising. I really just wanted to test out this card, and just thematically, I feel like it just fits. It is definitely a vampire on there, eating somebody, sucking out their blood, which is hilariously cool. It also has a kicker. So, destroy target creature or planeswalker with converted mana cost 2 or less. I see you, Tybalt. If the spell was kicked, instead destroy target creature or planeswalker. So you do have to pay 4 for that second, for that kicker ability. But again, if you're going against, something like Blue-White Control or, any other kind of slower deck, this can really just hose some things. So had to try it out. It's too fun, too on theme not to. A couple of the Fatal Push for some extra removal, Thoughtseize for the combo decks that are just running rampant everywhere. Another card from Zendikar Rising is Witch's Vengeance. Now this card I feel like has some real potential, depending on what kind of gets popular. If Humans starts getting popular again or whatever. Witch's Vengeance. Creatures of the creature type of your choice get -3/-3 until end of turn. So what this is a board wipe for anti-creature synergies. So if you're up against humans, even if you're not killing everything, you can give everything -3/-3 and then attack with your own creatures, to make combat real tricky. Or you attack, wait till damage is done. Maybe you lose something, maybe you don't. And then you play this, and you name humans, and their whole board dies, or whatever. There's some fun things you can do with this. Same thing with Merfolk. If you're up against a Merfolk, you happen to kill one of their lords. All the rest of their creatures have shrunk down, so maybe you just wipe their board like this. Pretty cool that it gives them -3/-3. Kind of love that. So definitely testing out this card in this deck as well. I think it has some potential in Modern. Again, depending on the meta. Leyline of the Void, because graveyard decks are everywhere. Lightning Bolts, because more removal, mostly. And then 2 Damping Spheres for Tron. We are an aggro deck, but, we're more of a mid-range aggro deck. We're not super fast, so, taking things like Tron off of things, or Amulet Titan, or whatever, very, very important. So, without further ado, let's get into the games. And we got a game against Common Seriously Wonderful. And we won the die roll. We're playing some vampires. And yes, I'm going to keep repeating it in exactly that tone. Sorry not sorry. We are mulliganing this hand, and I Yes, keeping this one. We do need a red mana at some point, but I think we have enough here to keep us going. I think because we don't have red mana and we can cast the rest of these cards, we're going to pitch the Lord, unfortunately, but we do have 2 others, so I'm not too worried about it. Our mana base is also incredibly painful, so we will need a little bit of life gain, hopefully, before too long. Let's get out the Knight of the Ebon Legion and pass it back to our opponent. See what they have to say.
Not you, Guillermo.
Our opponent plays a Bloodstained Mire. We would love one of those. Are we up against Jund again? That would be sad. No, Watery Grave. Okay. So... Oh. Spider-Man emoji here. Mishra's Bauble. So, oh, and they have a companion. They have Luris. Alright. Yep, always yields to that. Not doing anything about that. Cavern O' Souls. So do we get in here with our own Knight of the Ebon Legion? With our Legion Lieutenant out? I think we might. Let's get Cavern of Souls out there. We are going to name Vampire, of course. And I'm tempted to get at this one, attack, and see what they do. Because the next turn we get to. Nah, let's just do it this way. Cast our Vampire uncounterably, I might add. So it could be that our opponent's on some sort of Death Shadow, so maybe we're actually helping them. Knight of the Ebon Legion is interesting in a Death Shadow list. I guess it's another 1-drop for them, another creature. Perhaps they're not on the Death Shadow, but we'll see. We'll see. Castle Lochthwain. Training grounds. Oh, this is getting spicy. Okay. Okay, so now they get to activate their Knight of the Ebon Legion for 1 black mana. Sure. All right. Yeah, you got it, opponent. Your Knight is going to be bigger than ours. Gains Death Touch. So we take 4 here. We take 4. I think we're just going to play out our other Lord here, though. We'll see what we get. Sacred Foundry. Alright. We're gonna play Sacred Foundry tapped. We're gonna play our other Vampire Lord here, I guess. And the race is on. The race is on. Attack with all creatures. This is spicy stuff. Spicy stuff. I like it. Opponent down to 9. And we will also grow our Knight of the Ebon Legion. Let's see what else our opponent has in store for us. I think if we can just play this Stromkirk Condemned next turn. I mean, I guess it depends on what our opponent has. It really depends on what they have over there. We could have lethal here pretty easily. Even if they keep Knight back, I think. But we shall see. We shall see. Urborg. That is actually very nice because it means we don't have to ping ourselves for silent clearing. Our opponent has 5 cards in hand, and they've only played a Knight, Training Grounds, and a Bauble. I imagine they have to have, like, removal, maybe? Or, okay, Inquisition. Okay, takes our Vampire. Sure. Nothing we can do about that. Do they attack? They do not. Okay. So they do have the option of pumping their own knight here, obviously. So let's go ahead and sacrifice Silent Clearing to draw a card. Bloodstained Mire. Not what we wanted to see. So they can pump. So I guess we wait here. Just attack, like they block. They block our big guy. They're down to 3. But they still have the blocker. I think a removal spell kind of ruins our day here. Though I guess, I don't know, maybe we should have been more aggressive there. I should have pressed the advantage. No removal spell, okay. So maybe we won't be punished for that. I think probably we should have just attacked. I think giving our opponent more time to do whatever it is they have over there is probably wrong. Knight of the Ebon Legion, number 2. Yeah, see, I think maybe we should have attacked. Should have attacked. Our opponent's getting in, though. That is interesting. We have a redraw with Silent Clearing. If we need it. They are attacking. Okay. That is fine. We're going to be hit for 5. And we'll grow their other knight, too. Oh, they can double pump. I didn't even think about that. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's a thing you did. So hitting us for 8 here. What do we need to get out of this? Yeah, we should have. Oh yeah, they can just grow it all the way. Okay. So see, now we're in trouble. Now we are in trouble. Yep, sure. Those are gonna grow. We're gonna go get. I guess we'll get our Blood Crypt, Godless Shrine, and see what we draw. Tick up the Ether Vial. Bloodghast does have haste. Does that do it? It might, actually. So let's see. If we attack, it's getting +2/+2, so it's attacking for 4. So, and our opponent can only block one thing. So I think that just does it right there. Because, let's see. So they block this because this is our biggest thing. Yeah, and then they take lethal. So yeah, I think this does it here. No need to crack the clearing. So our opponent is tapped out. I hope I'm not mathing wrong. Attack with all creatures. Had us down to 1 though. Had us down to 1. Got it.
I'm a vampire!
You're not, though.
Alright. Unfortunately, we can't bring in Witch's Vengeance. Because it does affect our creatures. I guess Skyclave Apparition, Lightning Bolt, Fatal Push is what we want. Let's cut the Academes. Cut the Stromkirk's Noble. Didn't seem like there's a lot of humans happening over there. What else? What else? What else? Maybe cut a Null Priest, cut... Maybe we don't bring in the Apparitions. They do get rid of the enchantment, which might be useful, but we can also just kill the things and erase them. I don't know. We'll see. If we need to, we'll bring it in game 3 once we've kind of seen more of what our opponent is doing over there. Monster decides to go play first. Well, we got vampires. Pretty decent hand, I guess. Maybe we should be playing Lurrus in the sideboard. I guess we could have. No, we couldn't have. I lied. What am I thinking? We definitely could not have. We have 3 drops and 4 drops. Lurrus doesn't like those. Could play one in the main. I could see it since we're Mardu. I guess it doesn't matter because you could also just play black for Lurrus. Serum Visions. Whoa! Was not expecting Serum Visions. So, our opponent is playing Knight of the Ebon Legion, and Training Grounds, and Serum Visions. And Mishra's Baubles. I mean, Baubles makes sense because of Lurrus. Hello, mein Familia. Alright, so we are going to crack this. And I guess we're going to get a Blood Crypt here. Just in case we draw something red later on. Because otherwise we have all the colors we need. I'm happy about having the Fatal Push too. I think that will definitely be useful. Plays the Bloodstained Maya. This is blood, by the way. I would show you, but you're not allowed to show yourself drinking blood on YouTube, so you just have to take my word for it. The word of a vampire. Inquisition. Yep. Nothing we can do about that, so we're just gonna F6, see what they take. Because it probably depends on what they have in their hand. I would say it's either going to be the Lord or Fatal Push. Because... Okay, take the Fatal Push, meaning they must have a creature in hand that they don't want us to kill. Will they play it? Is it another knight? Dead weight. What is happening here? Of course, we draw Ether Vial on turn 2. Okay, well, our opponents saw our hand. They know what we have in hand. I think since they haven't played anything, we can just play it slow. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe we should just start, throwing things at our opponent's face. But I'm just going to play Ether Vial because Ether Vial is only going to rot in our hand the longer we have it. I know technically you're supposed to always use your mana. So I'm probably wrong. Yell at me in the comments if you must. But I hate just like having an Ether Vial sit in your hand and rot. Like that is not going to get better. It's just not. So I feel like playing it now, ripping off the Band-Aid, and making it actually useful throughout the game is worth it. Double Knight. Okay, well, potentially if they have a land or a training ground, next turn they can pump both of those creatures. So that does help. That does help. Okay. I'm going to be greedy. I'm going to be very greedy. I'm gonna be super greedy. Okay, so yeah, so we're gonna just play out Bloodghast. We're gonna take a hit, most likely. It's probably gonna be a big hit. They're probably gonna have the training grounds and a land, and we're gonna be sad. But I'm trying to outlast our opponent here. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe we're not the control here. But I'm pretending we are. Mishra's Bauble, Training Grounds, of course, but do they have the land to also pump the other knight, is the question. Does not look like it. So they're going to get in, they're going to pump one. That's fine. We'll take that hit. Yep. Yep. Next turn, we're going to get out Cordial Vampire. And we're going to Gatekeeper Malakir. They're obviously going to sack their smaller Knight of the Ebon Legion. But I think that'll put us ahead in the long run. Cracking their bauble. Interestingly, on our upkeep. Nighthawk Scavenger. I do like that. And it's a 5/3. I like that a lot. Okay. We're going to use our Ether Vial. Bright Meow. And we're going to put out a Cordial Vampire. Next up, I wish we could have played our Lord. I guess there could have been... Nope. Gatekeeper. Cast with Kicker. Vampire spell. Can't be countered, and it's kicked. Sacrifice a creature, opponent. I choose you, Pikachu. Oh yeah. Getting in for 3. Our opponent can double pump that vampire next turn, potentially triple pump. In which case, I mean, if there's the possibility of the triple pump, we will actually just block with Gatekeeper. I am perfectly fine with making that trade because it will also pump the rest of our creatures. Next turn, we get to play out Legion's Lieutenant and Nighthawk Scavenger. Plays a Cathalok Thwain, so they have the ability to triple pump. Pump it up. Will they go for it? We were 100% going to block with Gatekeeper. So that is 11 damage they're threatening. Fatal pushes the Cordial Vampire. Okay. In that case, I think maybe... Is they can only double pump? It says 8 damage? We'll take 8. We'll take 8, because we have Nighthawk Scavenger. So we can get a ton of life. We just need our first Strike Lord, and we will be set. Come on, first Strike Lord. 9/10. We are going to have to be careful here, for sure. Because we are at a precarious life total. Sometimes you have it all. So which do we vial in? Which do we... I guess we should put out the Lord. So that we can attack in. Now we get to attack in for many. That's 10 damage. I think our vampires are winning over our opponent's vampires. I wonder what other creatures they have to go with this training ground. I mean, training grounds plus Knight of the Ebon Legion is obviously potent. Like, obviously. But it feels like they gotta have other creatures, and I'm really curious as to what those are. I'm also really excited for our opponent to attack into this Nighthawk Scavenger, even if they kill our first strike, and it kills our Nighthawk Scavenger. That will be sad, but we still gain 7 life out of it right now. Yeah, 6 card type, 6 card types. Our opponent actually can't attack here at all, even, I don't think. I don't know if our opponent has anything that gets them out of this because they're at 3. I was just so excited to get in with Nighthawk Scavenger. Cast Nihil Spell Bomb? Gasp! I guess they get to exile all cards from their graveyard in response to our Nighthawk Scavenger, but I mean, they're still dead. Alright, all cards exiled. And our opponent scoops it up. Alright. Yep, I wasn't sure how they were getting out of that one. GG, well played, opponents. See you next time with more vampires.
Glitter?
Yes, get me some glitter. I'm going to sprinkle it on my face and on my body.